Greetings and welcome to another episode of Super Speak Sundays. I'm your host, James the Orator. And as you know, we highlight the lives of those who are just ordinary people who have gone on to do extraordinary things. And like no other show, we continue to bring you talent that will help enhance the quality of your life, those who are around your circle, your family members. We definitely want to make sure that the products and the information that we're putting out is beneficial to you. And so we have done just a bit of data research just to ask people, hey, what do you want to see? And so today is nothing short of what you have requested. We do want to encourage you to continue to go to our YouTube page, bottom right corner of any of our videos. You can subscribe to our channel. Also, if there's a particular video that you like, we want to make sure that you are commenting and liking those, because again, I think that the energy that we put behind those videos, other people see them, and then it makes a big difference in giving people the freedom and the security to comment as well. You know, one day we're all going to leave this earth. And I know it's a difficult situation, it's a difficult topic to talk about, but it's also necessary. You know, when I was a younger kid, my family and I, we sat around and talked about, the transition of life. And I think it's important that you do the same. Our guest today is nothing short of someone who handles this type of work each and every day. Let me introduce you to our guest. Emanuel C. Smith Jr. is a funeral director and embalmer licensed in the state of Indiana. He is a member of the Academy of Professional Funeral Service Practice and the National Ohio and Indiana Funeral Directors Association. Emanuel is a strong believer in giving back to the communities in which he lives and works. He is active in a broad range of community building activities, from youth programs to philanthropic efforts led by professional organizations. He is a life coach, mentor, husband, father, and grandfather, and is also a life member of Indiana's own Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated and 100 Black Men of Indianapolis, Indiana. You all know I have to give him a hard time. I got my Omega shirt on this morning. Root to the Q's. His commitment to excellence and exclusivity are reflective in his day-to-day professional efforts and inspire him to drive toward aggressive and meaningful long-term goals. Emanuel earned a Bachelor's of Mortuary Science degree from Cincinnati College of Mortuary Science. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our guest today, Mr. Emanuel Smith. Mr. Smith.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today on Super Speak Sundays. As you know, I've been trying to get you on the show just for a little while, and now we finally were able to make it happen.
Oh, well, bless you. Thank you so much, James, the orator. Certainly an honor and a privilege to be with you and your guests, and just to be able to share a little bit of kind of what we do and my experiences throughout my licensure.
Absolutely. Customarily what we do, we post a quote for all of our guests, and we ask them after the quote is read to just give us a reflection on what you think. So let me get your quote.
Okay.
So your quote says, "What you leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others." And that's through Citizens. I looked that up last night.
Okay. All right. Okay.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah. You know what? That is a very bold statement. Certainly, we live our lives every day. Sometimes people say, well, I need help, writing my obituary. Well, basically throughout your life, you've already, experienced and you've, written your own obituary. So sometimes you don't have to wait to pass away, to have somebody, leave something meaningful on your headstone, on your monument, because you've lived that. So I always encourage people, how did that person live? What did they enjoy doing? Those are the
Sure.
important things, those legacies that, we leave behind for, for our generations to come.
Absolutely. You know, sometimes dealing with death and discussing death is a very difficult topic for families. What would you recommend? I mean, as young as a person who's 10 to 12 years old, what are some things that are important for a family to prepare for transition, which is something that is inevitable, it's something we will all experience.
Yes, great question, James. I always encourage families to be transparent. And, one of the things that we, as human beings, we do not like to discuss death and dying. And this just dates back centuries. We don't want to talk about it because it's not a very good feeling to talk about losing a loved one or someone going through, excruciating pain throughout their illnesses or just being the caregiver, having to take care of a loved one.
Sure.
But, like I said, be transparent. Um, discuss it just like you discuss any type of financial, or wedding plans or anything like that. That's a huge event. And the other thing too is to be transparent, with your children. Like you said, as young as 10. I mean, maybe a goldfish passed away or,
Right.
or a pet dog, may have passed away, but be transparent, with the children. So that way, when that time comes, everyone is going to have to go through or experience some point of, death and dying in their life. And as young as a 10-year-old, we need to help them understand that that this is part of life's process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, when you think about your experience in this field, what are some ways you've been able to help families? I know we've talked about being transparent, but what are some of the products that you offer here at Flannery and Buchanan? Because we did want to mention that. What are some things that you do that help families to prepare for this life changing event?
Yeah. So, what we encourage here at Flannery Buchanan is to pre-plan. Like I said, we're all going to, unfortunately pass away, but, it's inevitable and we have to be prepared for our families. And I always encourage people to write it down. Sometimes we talk about, yeah, well, just throw me away in the pine box, in your
Right.
backyard. Well, unfortunately, we can't do that. So, we encourage people to meet with one of our family service advisors, come to, one of our facilities, one of our parks. And, look, we offer cremation, we offer burial, mausoleum, we offer lakeside scattering. We also offer green burial at our Washington Park North location here on the Northwest side. So we have a lot of different service offerings to accommodate any and every wish. And sometimes families don't know what they want. That's why
Sure.
we encourage families to stop in and speak with one of our family service advisors so that way we can help them write down their wishes, because you always want to communicate your wishes, because what happens is if you don't write down what you want, guess what? You're going to leave it to someone else that,
Right.
well, I'll cremate him, or, I'll, just have a direct burial. Um, and then also pre-planning also allows you to pay for the service offerings at today's cost. So that way
Okay.
you lock in that price of your funeral services.
You mentioned a number of different ways that people can be, I guess, put away. Can you
Mhm.
give us on a very high level, what are some of the areas that people can take advantage of as they pre-plan? I heard you mention green. I heard you mention scatter. Kind of just on a very high level. What just kind of give us a quick overview of what those mean. We know the traditional funeral of somebody being buried in a casket and put away, but
Mhm.
talk about some of the other areas that may be new to some of our listeners.
Yeah, thank you. So green burial, I mean, it's been around for a while, and we offer that here. We're the only funeral center that provides green burial here in the greater Indianapolis area, and people are really taking um, they're taking more of a better look and trying to understand how they can incorporate a traditional viewing and service with green burial. We have an all natural area here at our Washington Park North location. You can have a memorial service, where the cremated remains will be present for the service, and we can place those cremated remains back in its natural state in our green burial area. Also, if you wanted to have a traditional viewing and service followed by a green burial, we can either wrap your body in a shroud, an all natural linen shroud, or a pine box with
Right.
no metal, all wood dowels. It's all natural wood. And then also after the services, we would place you in that all natural green burial section as well.
Wow. Wow. So those are some things again that people may not really know about.
Yeah.
So someone passes away, they show up at your door. What are
Mhm.
some of the first things that you do for the family to ensure they understand the process?
Yeah, great question. So basically, we would welcome them into our facility, and then we would certainly sit down with them and give them one of our general price lists that talks about all of our service offerings. And then, we would, gather some information about their loved one, and we typically call that like our warm up. So that way we can better understand their family dynamics and kind of how that person lived. We talked about the epitaph on their tombstone,
Sure.
but we also want to know how that person lived, so that way we can help plan a meaningful celebration of life service for them. And then we would just go through, once they selected the type of services that they wanted, then we would kind of go through and go ahead and plan, those services for that family.
Now, because we know that this is such a difficult task to bear when you have to put somebody away, do you guys offer any type of therapy or any type of grief sessions? I mean, what are you doing in addition to putting the family member away? What are we
Mhm.
doing to help support the family to accept this transition?
Yeah, it's a great question too, James. There's a lot of, feelings and emotion that goes into, the loss of a loved one. And as a funeral care professional, for over 30 years, we do a lot of, healing and praying for this family. But we also, have connections throughout the city of Indianapolis where we connect them with, you know, um, with aftercare programs,
Okay.
the loss of a loved one, the loss of a child, SIDS for, the loss of an infant. Um, and, families really take advantage of these programs because, sometimes during those holidays and, those birthdays,
Yeah,
those families really need someone to be able to lean on, to pick up the phone, to hear a supporting and caring and comforting voice.
absolutely. You mentioned that you've been in this field for 30 years, over 30 years. Take us back. Take us back to that Emanuel who was, a young child. I mean, did you grow up in this business or how did this come to be?
Yes, yeah, thank you for asking. So, I actually really wanted to be a podiatrist, a foot doctor,
Okay.
and I was working on a program in high school, and I needed to take care of a project, before summer the my junior year ended, and I ended up going over to a funeral home there in town, and everything else is history because I typically went in and hi, I'm from Mr. Madzie's, econ class, and I'm here
Okay.
for my assignment. So, he gave me a tour of the funeral home, and I was just kind of like, wow. I was just kind of really just blown away by just the knowledge and the care and the disposition of the funeral director. I just started cutting grass and running errands for the funeral home, washing cars. And then, I started delivering flowers. And then, they allowed me to, once trained properly, to go to different facilities and transfer loved ones, into our care. Uh, and I start looking into, mortuary school. And, by my senior year, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And prayed about it. It's like, Lord, if you want me to be a podiatrist,
Right.
let me know. But my faith and my family, we certainly move right in that direction of being a funeral director. So
Wow. That's a major difference between wanting to be a podiatrist and then transitioning all the way on the other end. So
yeah,
podiatry deal with feet. Now we're dealing with the
yeah,
entire body.
yeah.
So what qualities that you realized that were necessary to do this type of work? Because everybody is not cut to do this type of work. But if there is someone who's listening to this show, what would you tell them are some necessary components to be able to be effective in funeral services?
Yeah. First of all, I'm going to say that you have to be a Christian. You have to have a connection. You have to have a faith, um, because you're taking care of God's people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people come through this industry, this profession, that wanted to be a funeral director or a caregiver, but they didn't have a relationship with Christ.
Right.
That's the first mistake.
Okay.
It goes nowhere. Their job, or their relationship within the funeral industry, it ends very quickly.
Right.
That's the first thing that I would say, and if somebody, whoever is listening out there, if you're not a Christian, I mean, this is not the best field for you. I'll just be real honest with you. The other thing is that, you have to have some compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that, your program kind of builds its core competency on, is being compassionate.
That's
You
right.
got to have compassion for people. You got to have compassion for humans. It's not a job. This is a lifelong career. There's people that have lost loved ones, and which affects generations. You're helping someone that just lost a loved one, and they're going to remember you for the rest of their lives. And when someone else's passes away, they're also going, oh, well, who helped us? Oh, Emanuel did at Flanner Buchanan. He
Right.
helped
Right.
us. He's knowledgeable. He knows, he's caring. He's compassionate. So, and they love that faith. Now, everybody that comes through our funeral home, they may not want a religious service, which is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But we serve everyone. We serve Muslims, we serve Catholics, Christians, atheists, we serve everyone.
Right.
But I'm saying, as a funeral care professional, you have to have a relationship with Christ to help those families that are in need of your services.
Wow. That's huge. That's huge. Many people don't equate those two together. And I think it's important. And thank you for bringing that up. Many people don't know that I used to work in funeral services
I
for
remember.
for a number of years.
I'm still trying to recruit you.
Oh man, we'll talk after the show.
Okay.
But I used to do this type of work. But I can remember vividly one time working a service, and it was an announcement that there was going to be a little girl. It was a child's funeral, first time I'd ever done a child's funeral. And I looked at and so we had a little circle up, a little meeting before the family came. And I looked at the obituary, and the obituary had the same date, year, and birthday of my youngest son. And so the feeling that I had that came over me was it was difficult for me to deal with that.
Yeah.
And so I asked to be, removed from working at that service because it was so difficult. It's my son Nigel. And so I want you to talk a little bit about, for those who are thinking about getting in the business, talk about your the things that you do to take care of yourself as you're dealing with some of the most difficult times in other people's life that you have to take on for yourself as well?
Yeah, great question too. You know, I'm thankful that the Lord has allowed me to serve this many years and to continue serving. But you know, during this pandemic that we've had, it was tough on
I
us,
bet.
and it was very tough on all of us as funeral, and of course, they call us the last responders,
Mhm.
and the medical staff being the first responders. And I know they went through a lot on the first line, and I'm
Right.
so thankful for all that they've done for our communities, throughout the world. But as last responders, we really needed, someone to come alongside us and help us through, this pandemic.
Sure.
And I work for such an amazing company. Flannery Buchanan Funeral Centers have been around since 1884, and our fourth generation owner, Bruce Buchanan, he put in place workforce chaplains. He partnered with workforce chaplains, and they came alongside all of our companies here within the Buchanan Group, and they give us, just some extensive support where we can call not just us as funeral directors, but even our families
Mhm.
can call as well. And, they'll call you randomly. How are you doing,
Right.
Emanuel? What's going on in your world? Let us pray. And you don't know how much that means to us to be able to have someone else that we can lean on, so that way we're healthy mentally,
Mhm.
physically, so that way we can help the families that are in need, that really need us the most. And it's just so important that we're able to have workforce chaplains support us. So God bless them, and thank them if there's anyone out
Absolutely.
there that are aware of workforce chaplains. It's just a great partnership that we have with them.
Absolutely. I did my dissertation. The title of my dissertation was Self-Awareness and the Impact on the Performance of Care Professionals. And
Mm,
my sample population, I did a qualitative study, was funeral directors. And so I interviewed a number of funeral directors just to kind of
yeah,
find out exactly what you just talked about, is
yeah,
how they deal with being around those who have transitioned, and what that means for them in terms of their own mental health and things of that nature. As you work in this industry, how often do you think about your own mortality?
Well, all the time. I just turned 50 last month, so
Happy
people
belated
say,
birthday.
"Thank you." People say, "Oh, you're halfway there." I'm like, "Halfway to what?"
Right. Right. Right.
So,
Absolutely.
but yes, I mean, you think about how you want to be remembered. You think about your footprint that you've left on this precious planet, especially with your loved ones. What legacies are you going to leave behind?
Absolutely.
Um, and, it's just kind of yes, have we pre planned? Have we, recorded kind of our wishes? My wife, not so much, but, I was able to kind of get her to at least give me something,
Right.
so that way, I say, listen, I said, I preach this all day. So, I got to be able to have something, in our will, God forbid something would happen. And so, she was able to kind of share with me kind of, her wishes. And so, yeah, I think about, my own time and passing, and, what that's going to look like. And, we're certainly prepared, for, whenever the good Lord says, my son, it's time,
That's
you know,
right.
yeah. So, yep.
I know you deal with a lot of people, and lately we've seen a lot of families, do a GoFundMe, or all these different things, because they have not properly prepared for this day, which is coming.
Yeah.
What are your words of wisdom to families who have not prepared, who who are thinking, oh, we can just do a GoFundMe, what do we say to them?
Yeah, we certainly preach, definitely pre-planning is the best option. But for those that, that do not pre-plan and it's an unexpected death, which we know that occurs, then, it would certainly be an out-of-pocket expense. And, we are very competitive in our pricing here, at Flannery Buchanan. And so, we help all families, no matter their budgetary, finances. So,
Right.
yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
There's someone listening to this who is considering the profession. I know you
Yeah.
kind of given us some things. You said you have to be a
Yeah.
Christian and you have to have compassion. But for a young person who's considering this, what things can they do right now? I mean, do you all offer an opportunity for people to come in to shadow young people in high school? I mean, what steps can people take to kind of prepare for a career in funeral services?
Yeah, shadowing is a great opportunity for young people or people with second careers. We're seeing a lot of, second career folk, come in and choose mortuary science, especially females are really leading the way in mortuary science. And, we're really trying to push to get some more, males interested in mortuary science. We're going around and different states and cities and mortuary programs trying to encourage more men to be involved with and choose mortuary science as a career, which our field was always dominated and led by really a all male profession, but that has certainly flipped. And women are just so compassionate and
Oh
just
yeah.
caring and just how they handle families. And so, we're thankful that, that the profession has really kind of balanced this way out. But young people, I'm going to encourage them to shadow, make sure in school, heavy on sciences, heavy
Mhm.
on psychology, sociology. um, Sometimes, young people don't understand that people don't pass away, 9 to 5. People pass away 365,
That's
24
right.
hours. So this profession is not a 9 to 5 by no means. If you're looking for
Sure.
a 9 to 5, choose another profession. Uh, it's 24 hours a day. So you have to be committed. We run into some people who, got into this field, went to school, became licensed, and didn't really understand that this is a 24-hour business.
Mhm.
And it's almost like a doctor. Doctors get called, all throughout the day or the night. So, we encourage people to really look in depth at mortuary science before they really take the leap of faith and, spend the resources to go to school, shadow a funeral director, go to a funeral home, not just one time, but just go and, see if that's kind of what you want to do.
Absolutely. As a country, we're facing we call the Great Resignation, where everyone is clawing and looking for great talent to to work in various industries. What are some of the consistent gaps that you're seeing in terms of? I know we talked about funeral directors, but what are some of the other gaps in terms of employment that you've identified?
Yeah, so Indiana is a state that has a dual license, funeral directing and embalming, and we're trying to push to have where because I'm sure that the workforce it's very tight all over the United States
Yes,
trying to
yes,
find
yes.
good people, but we're trying to push like Ohio. Um, has a program where you have to have a bachelor's degree, but let's say you don't want to embalm, let's say you just want to make funeral arrangements. We want to be able to get some good people who don't want to have anything to do with embalming, but just be more of a one license personnel and just do funeral directing. So we're trying to push,
Okay.
push for that. We have our portion where cemetery professionals, we have where folks can only just, work on our cemetery side of the business. So, and that's, our family service advisors. So, those other, fields, I think you kind of, when you were working in the funeral business, you kind of worked in that family service, family service advisor area. So there was a lot of different areas that people can kind of get into. And if you don't want to go to school and you just want to be a guest relations, a funeral attendant, certainly, a lot of retirees will, want to stay busy, and they'll come and, and spend their time here, at the funeral center, working part-time or as needed. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Wow. Final thoughts. Again, we have listeners. What are your final thoughts?
Well, I just encourage everybody to, thank you for, supporting, Flannery Buchanan Funeral Centers, and all of our companies, associated companies. People have questions about pre-planning. People have questions about cremation or green burial. We have 17 locations throughout the city of and suburbs of Indianapolis proper. So feel free to reach out to any one of those locations, and any one of our staff members can assist you and help you, along the way. We're always here. We're open 24 hours a day. We never close. So we're not always physically at the building, but our number is, and our phone lines are always accounted for 24 hours a day.
Perfect. And we also have the on the tickler here, we have the FlanneryBuchanan.com website, and so they can also visit that if they have any questions or need to contact someone. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. We all can, any one of our directors or staff members can help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith, we want to thank you today. It's definitely been enlightening, and it's just been great information that, again, it's difficult, but it's necessary. And we thank you for taking the time to spend with us today on Super Speak Sundays.
Yeah, thank you so much, James Orator. It's an honor and a privilege once again to be your guest, and to work with you and partner alongside. You guys do a great work in our community, and it's just so important. There's a lot of hurting families out there that need your services, and we just love to be able to support organizations like yours, because it also helps our communities. So
absolutely. Yeah. Again, thank you, and we'll talk with you soon. It's right. We have to follow up on that information you talked about those opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from Mr. Emanuel Smith from Flannery Buchanan Funeral Services Center. One of the things that we don't want to, I said it before, we don't want to talk about the transition of life, but it's necessary. I would challenge each of you to sit down at the table with your families and find out what the desires are in terms of being able to transition. And if you don't have life insurance, by all means, please get life insurance, so it takes some of the stress and strain away from the family as you put away your loved ones. You've been listening to Super Speak Sundays with your host, James the Orator. Until next time, I want you to understand something, that we love you, and we'll see you soon.